of the Finance and Operations Committee will please come to order. Mr. Rogers, please begin with an overview of your agenda items for this evening, sir. Thank you.
Tonight we have 4 agenda items. 3 are informational, 1 that will require board action. The first agenda item is an update on the Aronimink and Clifton Heights Middle School update, just going through where we are with each project and what the expectation in the future is. Again, that's informational. The second item is an update on the future bond issuance in regards to our capital improvement plan. That's informational as well. The third is an update for the Upper Darby High School band trailer, and again, informational. And the fourth is policy. We have 2 policies for tonight that will require board action.
Please begin with your first agenda item. Thank you.
So the first agenda item is going to be split into 2 parts. The first being Aronimink, which Frank Salerno will kick off with our Kcba members here.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Good evening again. President Brown, Vice President Mitchell, members of the board, and members of the community. We're excited to give everyone an update on our project. Specifically for this portion of this agenda item, we are going to update you on the Aronimink Elementary School project. Here with us this evening, to my right, we have Mr. Mike Kelly and Mr. Ryan Orr from Kcba Architects. We also have present with us for a portion of this presentation and for questions from the board, from the public, Mark Morella from Kcba, and Tom Fries from Pannoni, one of our engineers. We are again going to go through a very quick overview here of the Aronimink Elementary School project, speak to some of the dates recently that we have achieved and some of our mile markers and some of the future steps, and from there also some detailed information about the phasing of the project. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to Mike and Ryan.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present this update to the board and to the district and everyone in attendance. So first off, the approval process for Aronimink has been moving forward. You can see back in the end of 2019, we got 2 major approvals, one from Delaware County Planning Commission and one from Upper Darby Township Zoning. We're also moving forward after favorable talks with Upper Darby Township, and we're anticipated to present at the council meeting on March 18th. So again, moving forward with the township. Additionally, the other anticipated approvals from PennDOT, stormwater, and sewer, we're continually working on those and getting feedback and resubmitting for those as well. Recent steps taken, in addition to the approval process, we've also been looking into other steps. So the ongoing PlanCon funding that is possible at the state level, but is still in limbo. We've been in discussions with PDE regarding that. Again, we had a favorable meeting with Upper Darby Township, which is allowing this approval process to go very smoothly. Additionally, the board approved the Act 34 materials at the last board meeting. And then just today, we were able to meet with student council members at Aronimink. They were able to design their own classroom and see where the design is progressing as well. And then following that, we were able to meet with teachers, also go through the classroom, see different items that they wanted incorporated into these renovated and new classrooms.
Ryan, if I can just interrupt at this moment here. I think that a couple things to highlight. Once again, the conversations with Upper Darby Township, with the mayor's office and the township officials has, the discourse back and forth with the township officials has been very, very encouraging. Our engineering team having that level of conversation with the township engineers has been very productive, and just today again exchanging emails and information back and forth. So we are again very, very encouraged by the level of conversation taking place at the township level. Additionally, I just want to really focus in on again today. This has been a very interesting and a very fun project in a lot of ways, but today was especially fun, and just to interact with the students. And Dr. McGarry was kind enough to take time out of his schedule to come down and spend some time with the students, Ryan was there from Kcba and brought some samples of furniture and student desks, and just seeing the students interact with, with Ryan and plan some of the space and really give some very good feedback and ideas and suggestions. We were there, Ms. Buford and Jason Taylor were there capturing it, and we're hoping to push that out on social media sometime soon. But just the level of excitement from the students cannot be understated. I mean, I had no idea they would be that excited just about furniture. But just the looks on their faces and then once we started showing them some of these slides with the spaces, there was a lot of, these were 4th and 5th grade student council members, so there was some disappointment, to be honest, because they're saying, wait a minute, where has this been? You're coming to us now as 4th and 5th graders. But we very quickly turned that in the direction of, yes, but you're going to Drexel Hill next year, you're going to have brand new bathrooms. And once you go to the high school, you have a brand new athletic facility. And so we were very quick to point out that this is not just work that we are doing at Aronimink, but throughout the district. But today was a really special, fun day in a lot of ways.
I tried to steer the colors toward purple and gold, but it didn't go over totally.
Taking a look at the alternate project phasing, as we've been working through this project, it came to light that in order to more appropriately phase this project, a longer time period would be necessary for multiple reasons. One, to allow the DAO more time to move out, figure out where to go, but also in order to increase safety on the site and within the building for students, staff, and all members of the community. So with that being said, the current phasing plan actually looks to build the addition first and then go through and systematically renovate the building floor by floor. So there it is in words. Go ahead. Did you want to?
So as Ryan goes into the phasing with the images here, I think it's important to note that the phasing of the project has adjusted somewhat, and I think that we are much more comfortable with this phasing. We feel really good about it. We know that to Ryan's point, we know that starting with the addition piece has a lot of benefits, and I think most importantly, the fact that it's going to be much less disruptive to the students and staff at Aronimink. I know there were some concerns about that. Listening to the public and those concerns has a lot to do with the changing and the phasing of the project. So Ryan's going to go through step by step with some illustrations here to highlight the phasing for the project at this point.
So first we're going to start with the site phasing. So the initial idea of the first school year, so 2020 to 2021, the addition will be under construction. So that area in orange will be a construction site, will be fenced off. In order to accomplish that and maintain bus drop-off and parent drop-off, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, we'll actually be creating that student drop-off in the very first month of the project. So that will open up a lot of avenues for the school and DAO to both still function. Additionally, because we'll be building the addition on the existing parking lot, we're anticipating building a temporary lot where the permanent faculty parking lot will be, again, in that first month in order for the school and DAO to function as they currently do today. Then the following school year, the addition will be completed. So we can reduce the construction zone on that portion of the site, but we still need areas for contractor parking, site laydown space, areas to store materials, and access to the building in order to renovate those other floors. And we can also reduce the need for temporary parking because the DAO will have moved out already, so we will just have staff of Aronimink. And then that final summer of 2022, we take over almost the entire site just to finish up all the site work, wrap up the parking lots, all those final connections to the building to then be turned over for that 2022-2023 school year when the kindergarten center can move in. So looking closer at the building phasing quickly, once again, first phase, the addition is built at the end of the building. Aronimink and the DAO operate as they do today. Then we switch to phase 2. The DAO moves out, so that frees up the first floor bar along Bond Avenue. the second floor. So it makes sense to the upper floor. It makes sense to renovate that entire upper floor at the same time. So all those portions of the building will be renovated. So we move those students that would be in those portions of the building into the new addition, and the students then occupy the new addition and the lower 2 levels of Aronimink. Then in phase 3, we switch it. We move the students that were on the middle floor of Aronimink to the upper floor and renovate the middle floor. And finally, in phase 4, we renovate the lower level during the last summer. And then kindergarten will occupy the building at the start of the 2022 school year. So through all these phasing plans, we're trying to invigorate these existing corridors. So you can see a new classroom entrance with a designation, that purple, that upper Darby purple, and a side light into the classroom. We're also improving those existing classrooms. So new finishes, new paint, new flooring, new lights, new ceiling, improved storage, sinks, improved teaching areas. And then in the new addition, we're including additional learning spaces. So even in the corridor, areas that teachers can break out and students can break out in order to learn. And then finally, increasing our educational space by enlarging the building, but also creating larger spaces for learning to occur in that new addition. So looking at the next steps, as we mentioned, in March, we'll be going in front of the Upper Darby Township Council for this project. Following that, we'll be submitting construction documents for estimates, which will then be presented to the board in April. Following that, in May, the board would approve to bid the project. So you're not spending any money at that point to build the building. It's simply to get bids back from contractors. A few days after that, it would be released for bidding, and then we'd be back here to present the bids to the board and ask for approval of those bids. So that would be the night that on July 7th that you'd be signing the check to build Aronimink. And then in August of 2020, construction would begin.
One other point about the phasing of the project. There was conversation initially that the district administrative offices and central administrators would need to move much sooner than this current phasing plan is going to. It's going to give us the luxury of staying in our current space longer. We're projecting maybe even until the summer of next year. So there is not the immediate need for us to relocate. To be clear, we are not relocating, especially to a facility outside of the district. I think that's an important point of clarity. And we are able to stay in our current space and not incur that additional cost until later into the summer of next year. And our hope is that we would land somewhere within the district borders at that time. At this time, I think it makes sense, while there is the second portion of this agenda item, it will focus on the Clifton Heights project. I think it makes sense to ask the board if there are any questions specific to the Aronimink project.
I did hear about some of the complaints that some of the students won't get to enjoy the new school. I heard that in the car. That's all right. You had interesting proposals, like being held back 3 years and stuff like that. So, I guess really my question is just about the administration. Do you have anything on the horizon? Is there anything you can speak to? You don't have to if it's just too tenuous, but I'm just curious.
No, we've continued to keep our options open. We've looked back internally, and we have a plan right now that we're exploring. It's still going through a planning phase where we can utilize internal space within the district and renovate, hopefully.
There could be a considerable cost.
Yes. That's why I'm saying we're still in the planning phases. We're trying to vet that out to make sure that it's a viable option for the district.
So there's been a lot of pushback in the idea that leasing outside the district was not favorable. So we've looked inside the district, the Gulf building in particular. We're going to go out to an RFP and ask some architects to give a cost if we were to move the district administration and renovate an existing facility and improve the existing facility, which is the current maintenance and transportation building off of Lansdowne Avenue. Could that be improved a little bit and expanded and renovated to fit administration, add parking there? And what would that first time, that one-time cost be to that versus leasing it and have it in the school district? That came from Craig Rogers and Craig Harnachek, look at it that way. Now, there's some issues with that building, so we're trying to find out what the exact cost would be to renovate and use that building for our administrative offices. If that does not work out, we'd have to be even more creative, continue to look within the district, or spread administration out in whatever various spaces that are there in the district until we can find a more suitable location.
So I do have two questions. So if that were to work out with one of our existing buildings, that would open up, I'm sure the public's going to have this question, the kindergarten center. And Dan, I thought in previous times you've talked about possibly bringing in Head Start, preschool, that type of thing to help our students with a continuum of services. So if we could just touch on what we would use the kindergarten center for, if that were to work out, which is super hypothetical at this point.
So we still have significant space issues. This room alone is really a high school space, and we use it for the administration a lot. Board meetings, I run meetings out of here. So ultimately, if we were to expand that space and make better use of the space or try to be creative with the space at the Gulf Building, that still isn't fitting all of the folks we need to get out of that are taking up spaces in other buildings. So supervisors work out of here. Lou Gentile works out of here. Central registration takes place on this campus. So we're trying to move that off of this campus, and we can't fit that, even if we know we can't fit that, even if we expand that particular building. The ultimate game plan would be to renovate that to get us out of there, move those spaces that are taking up space on other campuses in the district, and still try to get ourselves back to getting administration potentially back in the kindergarten center and or using the kindergarten center for our cyber check-in system, and also a preschool or some kind of early intervention reading support for our kids. But we still have a space issue. We know that we can't fit every central administrator or supervisor that are currently out in the building taking up space at our current location, or even if we were to expand that location, they all would not fit.
Thank you. My other question is, could someone explain how the changing of this phasing benefits us not having to get DAO, but also, I know there were a lot of concerns at the Act 34 hearing in regards to asbestos. So if somebody could address how this helps.
Sure. I think certainly safety and security on site was going to be a priority regardless of what phasing occurs. One of the challenges with asbestos abatement is trying to do that when students aren't in the building. That's always best. So what's nice with this new phasing is now the existing building begins, or I'm sorry, the addition begins, and everybody stays where they are until it's done. That way we have a summer where we can abate any known asbestos on the upper level, and no one will be there, and then work our way down to the lower level and abate that the following summer. So it clarifies when that is and really makes that during times when kids are not in the building.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Could someone speak to Senko? How does that fit into the timeline? In regards to, I believe in the previous timeline, they were moved into the kindergarten center. So where would they be moved? What's the plan for them?
Yeah, the phasing of the plan does not impact Senko at all. It's still the same plan for Senko coming into the K Center when the building is complete. So there's no change to that.
I thought as construction was happening, though, that those moves would be happening during construction.
I'm sorry.
Or is it afterwards?
So Senko cannot move to the K Center until the K Center students can move into Aronimink. And Aronimink will not be done until obviously all of these phases we just went through occur. So the real impact is for the Aronimink teachers and the students that currently attend Aronimink over the next 2 years. That's really where the phasing changes will matter the most.
Okay. And another question, it's regards to parking and parent drop-off. Since we are taking away the parking where the gym area will be, the new addition, the parent drop-off, is that going to be street only? Are they going in and then on to where the children usually play during recess? And then is the parent drop-off still proposed to have a throwaway from Bond Avenue out to Marvine Avenue.
Yeah, so the parent drop-off, we're actually proposing in this phasing plan for that to happen, the first thing to happen. So that connection from Bond Avenue to Marvine would happen immediately. And that would open up options not only for parent drop-off, but bus access as well.
I think, is that what that little construction box was on that one section, was to open that up for the
Yes.
thorough? It was,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, down in the left-hand corner there, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'd be doing some work there in order to make that drop-off occur,
Okay, so that would be the plan then.
yes.
And just one last actually comment. So I teach a course for preparing teachers, and the course is for English language learners, and I'm very proud of the work that we do in Upper Darby School District, and, you know, I showed them presentations of the new Aronimink building and how inclusive it would be to English language learners, especially with the mural when you first walk in. And I thought it was great, and just by looking at the school as a teacher, oh my gosh, I would love to work in this school so much. I mean, and the kids, I just, the impact on the kids is going to be immeasurable, really. So I'm really happy with that. But my comment is, and I didn't even pick up on this, and it was my students that did. The script for the languages on the mural, they were actually westernized. And so I think it took away. And some of the students actually found it offensive. One was actually Arabic, and so they didn't actually see the actual script for Arabic. They saw it as westernized. And so I think including native script, seeing what other languages look like, and immersing our students in that fashion, I think would be really beneficial. And I just would like you to consider that, and maybe in some future proposal when we see that sort of non-westernized murals.
Absolutely, we can take a look at that.
It's a very good point. The image you're talking about was not shown today. It's an image of the lobby when you first go in. That's essentially a digital art covering. So that is something that we'll certainly come back to you guys to say, you know, is it words? Is it a picture? Is it, you know, what do we want that to be? So there's a lot of options for that. But certainly if it is depictions of other languages, that's a great comment.
So what you showed was just a rendering of it. It wasn't the final one that's going to be included, correct? Okay, thank you.
I mean, I like
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you very much for a very informative update. I think you're going to do Clifton.
Ed,
now, correct?
I'm sorry. I actually had one more. I'm really, I love to talk tonight. The parking on Bond, because of the administrative offices, once those administrative offices actually go, is there going to be a no parking on the right side of Bond Avenue because of the elementary school? Will it be a school zone from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.? I'm actually just curious about that.
So one of the highlights, and I appreciate Frank pointing that out, is that it's been refreshing. We've had some really good conversations. We've met with our engineers and our architects recently with the engineers from the township side, and that's really moved a lot of these things forward, which is different than the conversations that we've had on the Clifton project. So that came up, actually, one of the recommendations in meeting with the traffic consultant from the township side, talking to us about that came up, and we said, listen, we're not opposed. It's obviously a township's piece to do that. It's being considered that from if you could pull up a map on here, I'll walk up here and show everybody. There would be no parking on this side of the street, on the district side of the street, on the district frontage, that we would eliminate that parking there. We talked about with the township that, you know, be careful that there is some parking that happens here for drop-off and things like that for some daycare, but there is consideration, the township is considering that while school is in session, from 8 a.m., let's say, till 4, that no one will be allowed to park on this particular part around the frontage of the school district.
Okay, thank you. If you can please proceed with the second half of agenda item 1, thank you.
So I will sit here and just kick off this exciting project. Some of the sticking points with this project, obviously, that, you know, if you'll see in this presentation, we're particularly going back to May 28th, because we had some original timelines and mile markers that we made presentations on back in May 28th here in the Performing Arts Center. As you heard earlier in the Aronimink project, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and we're making significant progress in the areas of stormwater management and traffic and some of those issues that came up, and working with the consultants and the engineers from the township side and meeting with them, with our experts and our consultants, has really moved that project forward in a very positive way. The district, as you know, members of the board, really needs a new middle school. And we are not going to give up on our effort to build that new middle school in Clifton Heights. There's been a lot of discussion about whether sites have been reviewed and why is Clifton Heights the site that matters. And I wanted to make sure that, we review tonight again why we need the middle school, where we are at this point in time with the middle school project. There were some comments that have been made recently in a newspaper article, compliments to Dr. Manfrey. He really was professional in that we want to work together. We have every intention of supporting the sports programs that are over there, supporting the community, and we feel that that middle school is going to be a significant asset. When you talk to our students on our Student Administration Day, you'll hear that they talk to us about the facilities needs, that the students who attend both Beverly Hills and Drexel Hill Middle School will tell you that their buildings are overcrowded, that the hallways are overcrowded. To Mr. Neal's point earlier, the educational spaces are not conducive for some of the learning that we need to have take place. We can't stop doing that, so we're trying to be creative as we can, but the new middle school in Clifton Heights would allow us to not only shift students to that area, but it would also make better use of the current educational spaces at Drexel Hill and Beverly Hills Middle School that we want to make sure that people are aware of. It's not just making a new middle school, it's improving the other educational spaces at Drexel Hill and Beverly Hills by freeing up the overloading of students that currently exist there. So I just wanted to make it clear that we have every intention to continue to move forward on the middle school project at Clifton Heights Middle School. Really been refreshing on the Upper Darby Township end, working with their consultants and getting that feedback back and forth in the forum that we have, helping us move that project forward. And I want to turn it over to Greg just to remind everybody, where we are, why we are what we're doing, and then have obviously our architects here to talk about what that building will look like. We did provide the board as a refresher for some of the newer board members as well. This presentation is coming from that May 28th presentation. And later on, you'll hear from Mike Kelly that there was an original timeline. We're not able to hit that timeline and the cost associated with not hitting that timeline as opposed to hitting the timeline on the Aronimink project. Greg?
Thank you, Dr. McGarry, and thank you, Board, for welcoming me back this evening, and thank you to the public for hearing our plans for Clifton Heights Middle School. I think a very, very important topic. This evening, my role here is to talk about a few things. To talk about, again, the need for a new middle school, to talk about the overcrowded conditions at Beverly Hills Middle School and Drexel Hill Middle School, to review again with the public and the board the sites that we have reviewed, the alternative sites to the Clifton field that we own, to remind everybody that we have a prepared MOU, Memo of Understanding, that is ready to be signed with the Police Athletic League in Clifton Heights, as well as the Boys and Girls Club in Clifton Heights. And to reiterate Dr. McGarry's comment, our plan is to build a new middle school on our property on Springfield Road in Clifton Heights. Let's talk about the need for the middle school first of all. Back when this presentation was first made by us to the public, our enrollment was significantly less than our current enrollment at both Drexel Hill Middle School and Beverly Hills Middle School. Our latest enrollment report has Beverly Hills Middle School at about 125 more students now than on May 28th, 2019. Right now, there are 1,555 students at Beverly Hills Middle School, and we project that we will be close to 1,600 students next year. At Drexel Hill Middle School, we have the same, just about 100 to 125 more students. We have 1,430 students at Drexel Hill Middle School, and we project that next school year we'll have close to 1,500. I'd like to remind everyone in the community and remind the board that there are 10 modular classrooms behind Drexel Hill Middle School. Those modular classrooms, when we received them, were 25 years old. They have been there since I was teaching at Drexel Hill Middle School back in 1994. They are old, and they are not certainly optimal learning environments for Drexel Hill Middle School students, which includes students from Clifton Heights. We have several classrooms in the cellar of Drexel Hill Middle School that were originally used as storage spaces, converted to classrooms. Many of those classrooms do not have windows. Obviously, they are not optimal learning environments. Our cafeteria at Drexel Hill Middle School is overcrowded. Our gym space at Drexel Hill Middle School is overcrowded. Our hallways are overcrowded. Our auditorium cannot be used by more than 1.5 classes at a time. I don't think there's anyone in this room or in our community who would dispute that we have a need for a new middle school. I'd like to talk a little bit about the proposed catchment areas. This is going to require board action, which has not happened yet, but our proposed catchment areas include, for the new middle school, Primus Elementary School, Westbrook Park Elementary School, and Gariford Elementary School. Once that new middle school is built, the catchment areas for Beverly Hills Middle School will be Bywood Elementary School, Stonehurst Hills Elementary School, and Highland Park Elementary School. I'm sorry, not Highland Park. Senko and Kelly would be going to Beverly Hills. Pardon me. And at Drexel Middle School, Highland Park, Aronimink, and Hillcrest would be attending Drexel Middle School. Once that middle school is built, our student population at Beverly Hills Middle School will be approximately 1,100 students. Our student population at Drexel Hill Middle School will be approximately 1,000 students. And our population at Clifton Heights Middle School will be about 850 students. As I mentioned before, I brought with me, thank you, Mr. Berman, a prepared memo of understanding for the Police Athletic League, athletes, and the Boys and Girls Club of America athletes from Clifton Heights. And we have actually met with those folks and proposed signing a memo of understanding, giving them the first right of refusal for the use of that athletic facility. Let's talk about the alternative sites that we have studied for a new middle school. There has been talk about whether or not we should expand Beverly Hills Middle School. This is Beverly Hills Middle School. Beverly Hills Middle School is landlocked on all 4 sides of the building. There has been talk about building up on Beverly Hills Middle School. We have determined through our architect's work that it's not structurally viable or cost-effective to build up on Beverly Hills Middle School. And lastly, the current building codes prohibit additional expansion without expensive alterations to the building. There's been talk about expanding Drexel Hill Middle School. This is Drexel Hill Middle School's property. Drexel Hill Middle School is surrounded by a residential neighborhood and State Road to the south. Similar to Beverly Hills Middle School, it is not viable to build up on Drexel Hill Middle School. And again, a concern with Drexel Hill Middle School is that this would increase the student population from where we are now at 1,430 to well over 2,000 students on that property. We talked about a middle school at Penn Pines Park, which is off of Providence Road in the Alden section of the Upper Darby School District. This is Penn Pines. We've determined that Penn Pines is too small an area for our need. We've also realized that it's in a floodplain. And because of the small area, there would be no room for ball fields or parking. We talked about a middle school at St. Eugene's Catholic Church area on Oak Avenue. Here's St. Eugene's. You can see Primus Elementary School down in the left-hand corner. St. Eugene's currently exists, the St. Eugene property currently exists an elementary school, an Upper Darby School District Elementary School, Primus Elementary School, and a church that would remain on site, making the area too small for a new middle school. There's also another sticking point. We don't own this property. The added cost to obtain the property could add years to the possibility of building a new middle school on this site. St. Eugene's is not an option. We talked about a middle school at Rockbourne Falls. This site is severely limited in size and is too small for the necessary building capacity. It is a 5-story, sprinklered, heavy timber building and would require horizontal fire separation. The bottom 3 floors are partially underground, not allowing natural light, and this building too floods. Those are the sites that we've investigated. The most important thing to remember is that we own the property on Springfield Road, Clifton Field, and could begin construction there.
As we move forward, we have a schedule in place to move the project ahead, to go ahead with a lot of the approvals that you saw Ryan present for Aronimink, things like state approvals, county approvals, but local approvals as well. And the hope is that we're back here this time next year saying, we're out to bid, let's go. Which, again, as you would see in this schedule, is about a year behind. Because schools don't want to open in March and they don't want to open in November, they want to be ready to go in August when kids are ready to come back. And 2 years is moved back from that date. We're looking at the summer of 2023 now for the building to be open, and the summer of 2021 to be when construction would begin. And again, that's our hope as we continue to move the project ahead and to continue to work in a more collaborative way with Clifton Borough. So that's an update on schedule. As I said, basically take all of these dates and add 1 year. So these are a lot of two-dimensional images of some of the things you saw in the dramatic video. But again, one of the things we can certainly point out are the amount of open space, the amount of fields and play space that is still available and will be available, and in fact be brand new. We're including a walking trail through the site. You saw the illumination of the fields, and working with, as Dr. Manfrey had mentioned as well, working with the local youth organizations to work with them on what would be best for their youth sports. Obviously, we have a large field here that could easily field football, kind of a little league baseball field here, a softball field here, a big guys baseball field there. So we're including back the attributes that they currently have, and certainly with a brand new sod, brand new backstops, brand new portions for the community, and certainly what would be the athletic program then of Clifton Heights. You also saw, and we'll show in a moment here, the gym addition as well. This is one thing, while we're maintaining all of these fields and improving them on the current site, there is no building there, there is no gym, there is no facilities for other types of community components. So we have a full-size gym, we have athletic spaces above that gym as well for wrestling programs, fitness programs. As you'll see in a moment as well, a large cafeteria space that's doubling as an assembly space, auditorium space. So there's a lot of spaces there for town meetings, town halls, group activities, presentations, and things like that. So it's truly a state-of-the-art middle school located in the heart of Clifton there, and servicing those three local elementary schools.
While you're flipping slides, it compliments to the board. One of the rumors that was put out there is that if this happens, the programs that exist, the youth programs, would not be able to have access to fields. And compliment to the board, since the lease was broken, the school board has approved every facilities request, from Christmas tree sales to the use of Primus's gym, Westbrook Park's gym. And I point that out, there are numerous facilities requests that have gone before the board for the Clifton Pals and the Boys Club to use Upper Darby School District buildings. And I point that out because here would be a gym space where it would be in their community, they could have access to a new, very usable space, where currently they're going to other facilities to do that. And part of the rumor was that the board would break it and not let them do anything. And I think, again, dispelling that rumor was important, that we are continuing to allow those resources to be in play. And I think this will be a great attribute to those organizations to even use this space for basketball, cheerleading, and indoor hitting and things like that.
So kind of cycling through some of those still images from the video that you saw. This is looking at the backfields again of the property. That is a two-story school split on two levels. So we kind of took that and we went down the hill. You kind of saw how the building built up. It doesn't happen that fast, but it's very much created along the contours of that existing slope. It slopes very severely as it gets close to Springfield there. So you can see here the rear of the school here at 2 stories, and along the main road there as well. It's a 2-story building. Another view from what we consider the back of the building, parking lot area here, and all of that ample play space and fields there. The front of the school, just trying to make that look very open. Obviously, part of school security is knowing where the front door is. You'd be surprised how many schools people don't know where the front door is. So we wanted to make sure that there's a nice entry plaza here. We have the bus loop coming up here. There's as well as parking here, so it's very clear where the front door of the school is when visitors come to the site. We talked about a very large, full-size gym, the ability for cross-court basketball as well, so you could really have kind of 2 youth games going on at one time. This is the cafeteria space. Here is a large stage here that can open up for speakers and presentations. And again, you can see several hundred people not only being able to eat lunch here, but certainly community events in a very large community space right at the front of the building. The lobby space was a great opportunity to kind of celebrate history, and as we kind of mentioned in Aronimink, this is digital art. So I'm sure once we get started, we'll have 2 years to talk about what can be there. That's a great opportunity we've done in some other schools to work with community partners about how best to celebrate that community and that locale. So that's a great opportunity here for all of us during that design and during that construction phase to work on what that mural could look like. There were a lot of conversations. This is in red, so it's a little tough to see. I'll help you circle there. Areas where we would have crossing guards throughout the site. The intent is that there would be a lot of walkers coming to the school. Again, it's one of the benefits of this site. You can see with Westbrook Park sitting right here, and looking at where the district would place, in this case, 5 crossing guards at major intersections for students who are walking to the property to be able to enter at in any of these locations. We've talked a lot about traffic on and off the property. The idea is that we have a bus loop around the front of the building here where they come in and they come out. Cars would come in. There's been a couple of updates to this as well, but the idea is that we have a very long parking loop here, a parent drop-off here, and a gate that would be closed during midday, so kids can come in the morning and be dropped off. During school, that gate would be closed. The bus entrance is closed, and essentially visitors are just coming in, parking, and leaving. They're just kind of just in that intersection there. So we continue to work with our engineers and certainly with some beginning conversations with the engineers at Clifton Borough about making sure that we have other opportunities to improve that. This is talking about some public access to the fields, as well as public access from the building onto the fields. So you can see that in a variety of locations throughout the property and throughout the school to access the play fields. We talked about staffing during the day in the morning and drop-off, where we would want staff to be to help facilitate pickup and certainly pickup of buses. So we have staff at the front door. We have that large plaza area there as buses are kind of coming and going, and staff at various locations along the rear of the building. There's actually a couple of spaces where students could enter the building from the rear there, and again, we're doing that so that we're moving people along, moving parents along who are dropping off, moving parents along who are picking up as well. There's a number of locations where students can enter and exit the school, so staff would be appropriately assigned to those areas.
Mike, can we just go back to that for a second? I think one of the key points to this as well is if you go to Beverly Hills Middle School, which is on, I think, under 9 acres, Drexel Hill Middle School, which is close to 11, I think, acres. This campus, as far as a separate parent drop-off and a bus loop, is much, much better than any of the existing facilities that we have as far as how buses enter and exit a campus and how parents enter and exit a campus. I can't imagine what would happen at Drexel Hill if it got expanded or were to have been expanded to almost 1,800, 1,900 students on that campus, and then how would we exit and enter that campus that way? So again, this is why it's an ideal site as well, as far as how we would get parents and students on and off the campus, is an improvement to existing properties that we have now.
No, absolutely, and again, that's the philosophy of creating a safe environment both inside the school and outside of the school, and we are able to achieve those components here, so it's an excellent point. So that's it for our 2D images. That's it.
Thank you for a very thorough presentation, Aaron. Craig, you have something?
Yeah, I just want to add one thing, as Mike explained. We're obviously, and looking back at the schedule for construction, the one thing that has not stopped, like from the architect's perspective, we hit a roadblock. We continue to go through land development with our engineers, and I want the board to be aware that we are moving into the next phase of the engineering, and you will see in the next board meeting the resolution to move forward into that next phase and the costs associated with it. So I just wanted to kind of have a plug there, so you're not surprised when you see it.
Related to that point, the one thing that I didn't hear mentioned, I heard highlighting of the fact that we're keeping a lot of the green space, which is great on so many levels. I didn't hear anyone mention, but maybe it's worth highlighting also that we're doing a fair amount to sort of preserve the, or minimize the impact for the community and the households on the other side in terms of digging land. As you mentioned land development, we're doing a fair amount of digging out to put the school where it is to minimize the impact on the surrounding community, and that is adding cost, right?
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I think to maximize that space, we're building the building on the edge where there's a hill. So being able to construct that there has some more complications to it than building it right in the middle of the property where everything would be flat. But this is a design decision to maintain as much open space and to be able to provide those open fields for the community and for the students at the school.
I do have a question. Just along with this presentation, just so the community understands, we mentioned roadblocks. Could someone detail the roadblocks that we're facing right now with Clifton and what that's costing the district taxpayers?
Andrew Stahl here, our attorney, who's working on this project as well, is with us. Sorry.
Is this one on? I usually speak loud enough, but.
Sure.
Good evening, Andrew Stahl, I'm the solicitor for the school district. So the roadblocks have basically been, through the normal land development process, and for Aronimink, you heard a lot about sitting down with the municipality and discussing issues, and that's normal, that's typical. Hasn't been typical for this project. So we have had some roadblocks from the municipality. Our consultants have done a great job of pushing this project ahead, and we continue to push through despite the speed bumps. We're moving ahead, and we plan to build the school there.
My second question, maybe Craig could, how much is I know we're, with all due respect, we're appreciative of how much you're fighting for us to get this done for our students, but I just want to make sure that the taxpayers know how much the fight is costing in Clifton Heights.
So the tax bill or the legal costs associated with this have been in the realm of, $20,000 to $30,000 a month. But the more costs that's really associated with this is when Mike says this has been delayed a year. The construction costs for delaying a project for just 1 year, which has already been done, is going to increase. The longer this is delayed, the more cost is going to come from the delay of the project and the construction costs increasing, not so much the legal cost. So although it's a two-part expense.
So just to make sure we're clear, $20,000 to $30,000 a month in legal costs, in addition to the delay of the construction costs, which you can estimate in millions or?
It's approximately 5% increases from year to year.
And the cost to our students for being in overcrowded buildings. I think that's the biggest cost. I mean, there's really no dollar amount that I guess we can attach to that.
Mrs. Mitchell, that's a really important point. I think that in the meantime, I keep, Dr. McGarry's probably getting tired of hearing from me as the director of secondary schools, coming to him and saying, 2023 is great. If we really get there at 2023, that's great. But what are we going to do? We have to figure something out in the meantime in terms of what we're going to do for those kids at Drexel Hill Middle School and Beverly Hills Middle School. It is a very serious situation at both of those schools. We have classes, something that I neglected to mention. We have 66 sections of 30 or more students at Drexel Hill Middle School. And over 182 sections of 30 or more students at Beverly Hills Middle School. So we are in a desperate need of an additional middle school.
Last piece I want to add is to Dr. Higgs' point, which is a really important point as well. The site work, I know, Tom, you're here, the site work to try to make these improvements to dig out, to get the height of the building down and make use of that space is considerable. To make the building fit on the site that way where we're trying to, and doing that work back and forth adds to the cost to Meredith, to Dr. Higgs' point, is important. You're right, the site work is expensive as a result of that. And to Greg, to your point, the educational issues that we're facing as a result of delaying these projects, you don't get that time back in your life, so to speak. So it's a real issue that we're not focusing on those overcrowded pieces. It's interesting that comes up, but the enrollment shows that the buildings are overcrowded. The space is an issue. We can't get to the same spaces in the middle schools that we'd like to get for some of the important learning opportunities that exist because the classrooms are overcrowded or they're multi-use. To Mr. Neal's question earlier, we're using spaces for more than what they were intended to right now, and that becomes very difficult to teach. Finally, the school district has exhausted its opportunities to the point where it's frustrating teachers. We don't have true middle schools any longer at the middle school level. We cut team time. We cut team time at the two middle schools to save money historically and change the middle school schedules, which is a bone of contention with the middle school teachers. They lose that time because we had to pick up additional space and use of teachers, which saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the middle school schedule changes were put in place to try to reduce class sizes, use the space where it was, and the issue there is that we changed educational philosophy to make use of space in two buildings that are already overcrowded, and that has hurt climate and culture and morale in both those middle schools with teachers.
Dr. Manfrey, can we just, how many kids are the two existing middle schools designed to hold? And if you can give me a number for Drexel Hill without the trailers, right? It's been a long time since they've not had trailers there, but if you give, because I think that'll really kind of make it very clear where we are with some hard numbers. Thanks.
I think it's a very difficult question to answer from this perspective, that's okay. Those buildings were. First of all, I want to remind you of the comments that I made regarding the space that's being utilized, as you mentioned, the 10 modular classrooms, but also the basement space at Drexel Middle School is a great example of the creative ways that past administrations have been able to find just any nook and cranny that we could possibly use for classroom space. But I want you to remember that these buildings, both of these buildings were originally designed as junior high schools, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I can only give you, I don't know what they were originally designed for, and if I told you a number, I'd be making it up. So I could probably find that information out for you. But I will say this, that I started teaching at Drexel Hill Middle School in 1992. And in 1992, there were approximately 850 students at Drexel Hill Middle School.
Couple factors. It depends on the reimbursement model of 25 per classroom. That will give you a space use. So the building is probably built for around that number that you're talking about. The other issue that you're facing when that building was originally designed, at that time, public school code and special education requirements were far different. If you talk about the types of supports, and we have to be careful because it has hurt feelings in the past, we will be appropriate. But specific special education requirements dictate use of space per number of students in a space, number of staff in a space, and as a result of the programming in particular that exists at Drexel Hill Middle School, you can't take a simple number of classrooms that exist right now, number of students, and give you that process. Technically, right now at Drexel Hill Middle School, we're using a lot of space as it is because Drexel Hill Middle School runs particular special education programming that takes up that space because it's mandated by particular special education rules and laws. So it's a very complicated process to where it was years ago to where we are now that requires use of space depending on special education and the programs, the reading programs, and the math programs that we're operating now. So ideally, even at that number, even at the number we have at Drexel Hill Middle School in Beverly Hills, getting it down to 1,100 to 1,000 students roughly, we would be getting it down to somewhat of a more user-friendly space that's there. And what we'd be doing essentially is taking away the 10 modular classrooms at Drexel Hill Middle School to do that. We're still not perfect at those locations. So this is not like we're chasing the latest and greatest fad. We're trying to alleviate the stress in those buildings.
I think it's a conversation we have at the end of every year of what's going on, Dr. Manfrey, in those schools and what you guys have to do to just try to support the staff and things like that. And that's great, and my hat's off to you. And if we had enough space, you guys could do the things you're supposed to be doing that other admins and neighboring school districts are able to do with that time that's being taken up because you have to go run to all the buildings to keep things level, stuff like that. And it's just, I appreciate this administration's desire and constant work to squeeze improvements out of this district where we can, and my hat's off to you.
Thank you.
So I think it's safe to say we do the best we can to address a problem that's getting worse. It's not getting better. So, Ms. Mitchell, you had something
I
else?
just had one more thing that I just want to recognize. Our administrators and our consultants are working night and day to take care of this situation that we're currently in and to do what's best for students, and that should be recognized. Most administrators are not working as hard as you are to pull off what we're trying to have accomplished here. And, you know, all of that goes back to just the students and their safety. I mean, really, there's some major safety issues that we're facing, that we really don't have even the 3 years, even if we could start this tomorrow. So, you know, I want to recognize that you are working very hard, that there is a multitude of other issues and improvement things that the board has asked the administration to focus on. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that tonight, that you all are working really hard, so thank you.
Hello. So I actually just wanted to piggyback off that, and you stole my thunder with this, is if there's anything the board should take away from tonight's meeting is assurance that from top down, from administration to Kcba to Pannoni, everyone's working their butt off to make sure that this is the best use. I'm talking inside the school, outside the school, the athletic fields, everything. Everyone's working tirelessly. So please know that the efforts are pointed in the right direction, and whatever's in front of us, we're plowing ahead, and we're building a middle school here, and it's going to be one of the best in the districts.
I just want to make one quick point. The obstacles and the roadblocks that we're facing, and I know the architects and the lawyers, you've done this before with other districts. The roadblocks that we're facing is unusual. It's not normal. So you're having to go above and beyond due to unusual circumstances that you normally don't encounter. Is that safe to say?
Unusual is a good word, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm not on a timer, am I? Okay. Oh, okay. So, I did work at Beverly Hills Middle School, and a lot of people talk about retaining teachers and how our school district can't retain teachers and how a lot of teachers utilize our school district as a stepping stone. And, the numbers that Dr. Manfrey brought up regarding how many classes at Beverly Hills, how many sections have over 30 kids, and when you're a teacher and you're in those classrooms with over 30 kids, and I remember in our team, the social studies teacher had 38 students in his classroom. And the one prep period that you would have during the day, you would be sharing a very small room with many other teachers, because there's a lot of teachers at Beverly Hills. And there's always a line at the copier, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and then you have to use the restroom, and then you come back, and there's more people in the line. And so it gets frustrating as a teacher. It really does. And so I think with these improvements, you are going to see retention improve in our school district. You're going to see teachers want to come here. Okay, you're going to want to see experienced teachers come here. Okay, and I think that's important, that these facility upgrades are not only for our students, which is first and foremost the reason why we're doing this, but it's going to be a snowball effect in regards to a lot of the other problems that we face in the school district, including retention. So I just wanted to say that first. Second thing, I have three, sorry. I know, I like to do things in three. The second thing was the environmental impact of the Clifton Heights Middle School, and I just want you to speak about it again, is, currently Springfield floods a lot. Right? A lot of the residents complain about, holy moly, that floods all the time, right?
You're talking about Springfield Road?
Yeah, right in front of the Clifton, right? So can you actually speak a little bit about how we're going to be improving that?
I can't, but I think that maybe Tom Fries can, our engineer.
Good evening. I'm Tom Fries with Pannoni Associates. Happy to be here to speak to the board and the community about the project. We are currently working on design of stormwater improvements, not just for the site. Of course, we need to be capturing the stormwater that's running on the property itself. We have a number of stormwater management underground basins that will be capturing that, storing water, infiltrating where we can to try and reduce the amount of water that's actually hitting Springfield Road. The Springfield Road currently, why does it flood? Because there's no stormwater infrastructure in it. Surprisingly, a PennDOT road that it has no storm sewers, no inlets. You really have to go all the way down Church and down to Baltimore Avenue before you hit stormwater management facilities. So what we're planning on doing is extending stormwater management facilities up from existing systems, whether it be the township system, which is a culvert that flows under Baltimore Avenue, or the system that's in Baltimore Avenue, extending that up Springfield and providing drainage relief along that section. We did have actually a meeting on site last week during the rain with the borough engineer, and just to get his knowledge and background, what's in his head about where the issues are. He showed us where they had actually they've actually built an asphalt berm in Springfield Road to keep water from running down Church, down towards Baltimore Avenue. So we've got planned some additional detailed survey work, which would happen probably next week to help us delineate where the stormwater is going. But we're planning improvements in Springfield Road in particular. The extent that we can take care of not just our own stormwater along the frontage, but additional inlets in Springfield to help other issues. We've reached out to the borough and asked them to be sort of part of that discussion so we can see how we can make other improvements to help the community in that regard as well. But that's part of the project that is part of that additional phase that was spoken to, and the final phase, and we're continuing to work in that regard.
Just to add off that, it's not atypical for a developer. In this case, it's different that the district is actually a developer, but it's not atypical for a developer and a municipality to work together to try and figure out how to make the project a win-win, so to speak. So the give and take there is that we come in and we say, yeah, we understand that there are identifiable issues, in this case, stormwater. Let us help your infrastructure. We just kind of need some give back there to be able to do so.
And you mentioned unusual earlier. Usually, there's great opportunities for those types of partnerships, and unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that.
Good point.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you. And the last one was just a comment to Kcba. The designs, and it's really, I wanted to wait till the end. The designs for Aronimink, the designs for Clifton Heights Middle School, I mean, especially the middle school, honestly, it's like a college campus. It's a college building. I mean, when you're walking through that, I just can't imagine myself being a student walking through, and this is where I get to learn every day. I am so impressed by the designs and the incorporation of so many aspects of 21st century learning that I feel the architects at your firm really have a grasp of what our students need. And every time you present a redesign, I'm thinking like, well, it can't get better, but it does. And you take the feedback, and it's just, I just want to say thank you for all the hard work, because you definitely have taken a lot of feedback over the months, and so I just want to say thank you.
I appreciate that. And the usual part has been a great partnership with the school district. You heard today that we met with teachers, that we've done that throughout with Aronimink. We had great back and forth with a lot of your middle school staff as well. So a lot of that development and changes have been implemented by conversations with your staff and your teachers. So it's been a great partnership with the district.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you.
Our next agenda item is in regards to the future bond issuance. So as we go through these projects, obviously we have to pay for them somehow. So really, I just wanted to discuss with the board and the public the idea that and this has been the plan for the past couple of years, is that we will continue to issue bonds in order to pay for miscellaneous projects, which we've presented on in the previous months, where we keep referencing the $5 million plan a year in the summer, which, if you look at the high school bathrooms, the upcoming project that the middle school bathrooms, we are going through the process now and getting a schedule together to issue this upcoming year's bond, so the 2020 bond. So I asked PFM, our financial advisors, to put together a schedule, and I just wanted to quickly share it with the board and the public that obviously tonight I just wanted to kind of give a primer. Here it comes, and please expect the following. So a huge date, which was presented in the last meeting, or the last topic, is on March 18th for the Upper Darby Township meeting. That's going to really tell us where are we going with Aronimink, how fast, okay? If that's a positive meeting, the next item will be on March 24th, the regularly scheduled Finance Committee meeting. I'm going to have PFM and RBC come in and give a very formal presentation in regards to issuance of a bond, somewhat of an educational presentation for the new board members and also the public. And then also we'll continue to go through the schedule. So it'll be adapted as things go. Now, if the 18th, if there's any kind of delay or anything, we have the ability to continue to change this schedule. But the real idea here is we would have RBC and PFM come out next month, present at the committee meeting, and then at the April board meeting, we would want to go through for adopting the max parameters for the bond. So, go down. And then once that's adopted, we can actually start locking up the interest rates. And this next page will show, let's see if Harry can pull up that next page. So what's really important right now, and I'm sure everyone's aware, interest rates have plummeted. So from a borrowing perspective, that's very important for us. They're at an all-time low. So you can see here the 10-year range. We are all the way down at the bottom. So the interest rates are at an all-time low. And why that's important and also folds into the schedule that I just presented. I've actually asked PFM to try and push this schedule a little bit more aggressively than we had previously expected, because I want to take advantage of the interest rates as they stand. I want to make sure that the district's getting the best deal that we can get, and that's also going to, in that conversation, may change how we plan on borrowing. So, the original plan was borrowing really 2/3 in this bond issuance for the Aronimink project specifically, also phasing in and planning pieces to the other major projects. That'll be part of that next month's meeting, but we're considering whether it may be better off for the district to look at borrowing a little bit more versus less at a lower interest rate. So for example, we've issued bonds for the $5 million capital improvements that are more of the miscellaneous project throughout the district. And we had planned on continuing to borrow $5 million each year. It may make more sense to borrow 10 or 15 for the next 2 or 3 years. When you issue a bond, you have 3 years to spend 75% of the funds. So I'm working with our financial advisors to come up with a plan on whether it's better off to wait and only issue $5 million of that portion. So if you're issuing 20 and then you add on the 5, or any of the numbers, they're just arbitrary numbers that I'm saying now, but you may be in a better situation to borrow now at a lower interest rate in order to save the district in the future. So that'll all be considered over the next month, and when they come out to present, we can discuss it a little bit more. But this is really just informational. Be prepared that we are going to be having these conversations, and we do have to pay for these projects as we move forward.
Thank you for making that point. So with the Clifton delay, I know originally when you was looking at the bond and the amounts and the interest rates and things like that, it included Clifton, and the assumption was that the project would proceed as scheduled. So what's the effect of the interest rates, and where are we now based on that year delay with Clifton? How is that hurting us?
So like I mentioned earlier, the major cost is going to be the increase in construction costs. But as far as our plan for issuing the bonds, we're adjusting. So we're still going to look through. There's a portion of the bond that will have to be picked up to pay for the land development and the continued cost of developing the plan for Clifton as well. So there'll be a smaller portion versus in the original offset, maybe a third of the school was already being issued in order to start construction, award bids, construction. But that'll all kind of tail out, and we'll keep building it into the structure. The community and the board should know that the best effort that we're putting forward and that we're tasking our financial advisors with is we want to make sure that the payment schedule, unlike a mortgage where you have a steady payment, aside from how your taxes impact that, depending on if you escrow or not, as a school district, we can somewhat manipulate how the bond's being paid. So front-loading or back-loading payments. So maybe in the beginning years you have less payments, whereas the payments really pick up in the back end. And why that's important is because a district like ours, our debt ratio is extremely low. So if we don't issue any new debt in the future, we're going to have our debt paid off in the next 10 to 15 years. So if you issue it now and you have a lower payment as old debt's falling off, you can build up those payments. And what that does is lessens the impact on the taxpayer so that the impact to each new year's budget is at the most minimal way that we can possibly do it. So, that's what they're doing their due diligence on as our financial advisor and from our directive.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, that was very informative. Any other comments or questions from the board? For the third one, you want to go on to agenda item number 3?
Yes. So agenda item number 3 is in regards to the Upper Darby High School band trailer. Dan will step in a little bit here, but this is an informational topic, and we just want to discuss the existing condition of the band trailer and projected costs that are associated with replacing that trailer.
Thank you. I have the privilege of attending sporting events when I can get out and attend them. And when I attend the football games, I see that some of the band folks are here and the drumline folks. I'm always asked to help pull out the instruments, and I see, and I appreciate that. I see what the band students and band parents have to do. Unbelievable amount of effort and work being a band parent. So compliments to you that are here and the band students that are here. If you follow it, they go back behind the lower portion of the Performing Arts Center, through the building, down around, pull it all the way down the back of the ramp, across some gravel stones, across the track, out onto the field. This year we've been trying to work with the band and using our maintenance department and our truck, when we can coordinate it properly, to help bring the instruments down back and forth, and then help them pull it back up during the games. At that time, I've also been asked to step inside the current trailer that pulls the band instruments that exist. The trailer that exists now is many years old. I think Joe McGilver, exact 20 years old that exists. And at that time, it was paid for by outside support. And I told the folks that we would come before the board, and this project would probably have to go out to bid. It's about a $30,000 to $35,000 endeavor to bring forward a new trailer that would pull the band instruments and the drumline instruments to and from events. I've also talked to members of the Boosters Club there, that how could we maybe, not now, because I don't want to put that added pressure on them, but maybe talk about, if the board is willing to and the taxpayers are willing to help support that, can we then talk about some fundraising initiatives or some sponsorships that would go on that trailer to go there. I think, as a superintendent, it's an important initiative to support. We should support the kids and do that and find a way to make that happen and work with that. To support those students. So we would like to ask the board to go out, to look at some of those costs and bring forward the costs to put into the budget to move to get a new trailer for the band program here in the district.
Any other comments or questions on that? Okay, we have the policies. I don't know if Craig or Mr. Desnoyers is going to address.
Go ahead. So next up is policy, and we have 2 policies. 610, purchase subject to bid and quotation, and 611, purchases budgeted. Both were simply being updated for the bid and quote thresholds. They went up slightly. The bid threshold went from $20,600 to $21,000, and the quote threshold went from $11,100 to $11,300, and they were the only changes to the policy.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions from the board on those policies? Okay. All right. Now we're at the time of the meeting thank you very much, Craig. Now we're at the time of the meeting for public comment. So if you would please come up to the microphone and state your name and address and the agenda item that you have a comment or question about, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Lila. I'm a junior here at Upper Darby High School, and I've been in the Marching Royals. Oh, my address. 4200 School Lane, Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. Hassan. So I'm a junior here at Upper Darby High School, and I'm one of the section leaders for the front ensemble, which is one of the main instruments that go into the trailer, and I'm both in drumline and marching band. Like Dr. McGarry was saying, we had him come in the trailer after a football game to to kind of show our concerns for the trailer itself. It's not only unsafe, but we are exceeding its needs. Our ensemble has grown massively over the past 2 years to the fact where our past competition this Saturday, we did have to rent a Penske to put our props and extra equipment onto it. The trailer itself is extremely dangerous. I've witnessed multiple people and myself get hurt on it because it's just not built for what it needs to do. There's mold in the trailer, and the shelves and everything are just completely like just distraught and just taken down from the equipment that's gone over there for 20 years, someone said. So not only is it unsafe, but it's overflowing. And we've had band parents try to fix things and organize things. And over the course, Mr. Cummings and Mr. Siwa have put their efforts in to try to make it better, but it's at the point where we just need a new one.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. Good job.
Just want to say, as the next speaker's waiting, thanks to Joe McGilvery helping getting the Penske set up to help pull the information. Thank you.
Hi. Didn't she do great? I mean, that
Yes,
was
you
really
did a great job.
So she totally stole my thunder, so I don't have much to say, right? Which is good. So my name is Kate Long, 912 Burmont Road. So a couple of things I just wanted to kind of add to. Again, I think Dr. McGarry did a great job. Lila did said a lot, right? So I don't necessarily have to repeat. A couple of things that I just did for fun this weekend when we won first place, as Maria stated. Just putting it out there. All right. March 30th is our preview night for indoor, and we have jazz performing March 30th. And I will absolutely send you all a flyer as I usually do. So absolutely no worries. You know, when I was looking at the schools for this last weekend, I couldn't help myself. I started kind of polling and walking around. And I said, oh, hey, where'd you get your trailer? Oh, it's facilities owns it. Or I'm sorry, not facilities. Why do I always want to say that? It's a transportation ownership, right? Facilities district owns. Oh, okay, good. I polled about 7 different schools. There were 21 at the event last weekend, so I can't say I walked around to every single one. By the way, who drives this vehicle? Because I know that there's been concerns in the past about who should be driving it, right? Yep. And I think that, 20 years ago, you'd have parents drive it. We don't live in that world anymore, right? Liability and stuff like that does not allow that to happen. So I just want to point that out, that they all told me, oh no, district provides, the drivers. And, oh yeah, we sometimes exceed our trailer right now, and here's what we have to do. We're trying to figure out how to put things in other people's cars. And earlier this season, we were taking drums in parents' cars because we had no more room. And, that's band equipment, belongs to the district. Should we be driving this? Probably not, right? But we want to support our kids, want to make sure that they have a performance. So these are things where, to what Lila was saying, marching band, we were exceeding it. Indoor, we can't fit anything. Mr. Siwa really has done a phenomenal job of soliciting, new students to all these different band programs. And I know that one of his plan is to start doing more travel events, not less. So, we're just talking indoor and marching right now, but it's going to expand. There's going to be all different kinds of competitions where we're going to need that trailer, and we need a good working trailer for that. So I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I told you the date. All right, yeah, very good. I think everything else is good.
Thank you very much.
Andrea Gallo, 1124 Blythe Avenue. I had a question about the Aronimink plan. Can I see a picture of the inside of the school, particularly the doors for the classrooms? My concern is, just to save time, is the design. And I wanted to know if that picture is an actual reflection of the design of the doors for the classrooms, or is that just kind of a mock-up to show? Yeah, I'm talking about the window. Is that part of the plan?
That would be the plan. So there would be a solid wood door and then what we call a side light. So it would be a glass side light, but we include as a base bid intruder resistant glazing in that side light.
How wide is that?
That side light is 12 inches.
Okay. I hate to even have to have this conversation, but in the world we live in, with kids in that school, to me, that's a danger, okay? Because I think that, it looks lovely, I think it's really nice, but I think we have to sacrifice some of that for safety. I would think that's easily breakable. It's also allow somebody to see inside the classroom, which is not ideal in a lockdown situation. So my concern is, I would rather have a solid door there that can handle a lockdown situation where somebody couldn't see into the classroom.
So security is actually twofold. One, yes, it's preventing intruders from entering the classroom. However, it's also allowing administration, teachers, when they're walking by, to be able to see into the classroom, to see what's occurring inside the classroom during normal operation. During a lockdown drill, the locking mechanism on that door is an integral piece to the door. It goes into a steel jam, so it's going to take a lot of force to get into the door. And again, as I said, that glazing is already an intruder-resistant glazing.
What does that mean? Can you break that with one of those devices you can break car windows in?
No, it's a laminated glazing, so when you hit it, it doesn't shatter into 1,000 pieces. It actually it's like a car windshield almost.
Is it bulletproof?
It is currently not bulletproof, no.
Okay. So I get why somebody has to have that glass to be able to walk in administratively and see all that, but that's a lot of window. So my concern is that somebody could shoot through that glass and walk right through there, so that door doesn't matter.
So the other part is how that window is divided. So right now we have a division in it. So to climb through it takes a lot of effort. We can also break up that window even more, so it is more intrusive for someone to climb through it.
I just think that's
Right, exactly, correct.
it's a lot of window. I don't know if it's necessary.
I appreciate that feedback, and certainly, as we said, earlier in these conversations, we can work through those pieces. We're always, and I appreciate you bringing that up because it is a sensitive topic, and I think it's important to look at that. We're always running the risk of that piece of what you're talking about, and then building and designing things that are not as user-friendly to kids and aesthetically pleasing and warm and welcoming. But the point that you bring up is a valid point. We could certainly look into what that would be. You don't have to have that light to be in that piece to be there. Our concern is we also want them to be warm and welcoming environments to some degree as well. So that would be a point of clarity that we can bring up as we go through the final stages of
I
this.
like the window. I just think it could be narrowed or maybe shortened or another design maybe higher. I don't know, but that to me is just a side door. I mean, I see that and I'm just thinking, if I want to get in that classroom, you can get into that classroom, regardless of what you do to the door. I'm assuming we're getting these doors that are like, better than what we have now. That
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
ready to
Right now,
block.
you have a wood door right now.
So it's like
that's
having a really good,
single-panel
strong
wood
door is great, but having glass that can be broken right next to it, to me, is problematic. So that was my only thing. And by the way, I am also a UD Bop member, band parent. I support everything that everybody said, but I have to tell you, when I started last year, when my son was a freshman, I was in awe of what these kids can do with that trailer and getting that stuff working. It was amazing, but it shouldn't be happening at that level. So I appreciate everything that Dr. McGarry said. I appreciate the support of Mrs. Simone, too, and your team to support our need in this area. So thank you.
Good evening, Margaret Parenti, 932 Blythe Avenue, Drexel Hill. My question is about the temporary parking lot. Since it's going to be right across from my house, what exactly is a temporary parking lot? Are you cutting into the curb? Are you putting a macadam down? What exactly is it?
So we're still working on exactly what those details would be. But as a reminder, during construction, it is going to be a construction site. So no matter what's there, it's either going to be a construction fence, it's going to be a parking lot. There's going to be something there
I know
during
there's going to
construction.
be something there. I'm asking what is a temporary parking lot? Because if you're talking about laying down stones and doing all of that, that's going to be a mess. It's going to end up in the street. It's going to be dangerous for cars. And my other concern was, when you start this construction, is there going to be any kind of nighttime security for the construction site?
So the construction site is entirely fenced. So even during the day, unless I'm a construction worker with a key to get into the fence, I'm going to be completely blocked outside of the fence. So the same thing goes at night.
So nobody's going to
fencing
climb
will
over
be-
the fence, nobody's going to pick up the stones and throw them
Well,
You-
there won't be
I-
stones outside of the fence.
Okay, so the parking lot, I'm back to the parking lot. Do you know how you're going to make a temporary parking lot?
Once again, we're working through those details.
Thank you.
So Margaret, one of the things we're working on, we have a safety and security grant. So we're going to improve cameras, especially at the elementary level, outside and inside the building. So we'll have a camera system as well, looking at the site. We've already talked about this at different meetings, about having added security presence, in particular at that site during that period of time. Because to your point, that would be problematic. I agree. We don't want to have that. I mean, you could put a fence up, and we all know, being a kid, you're going to want to
I mean,
explore
kids are
potentially.
kids. I
Yeah, no
mean,
doubt about
you
it.
know.
So we're definitely going to keep an eye on that. And one of the things we considered coming out of the Act 34 hearing, and we talked about it with others, we'd like to put, as we move forward with this, with the community and the neighbors, a group to meet with myself, Mr. Salerno, and the team to talk about issues that are coming up and process through that as it's going. So, hey, this is going on. Come to my office. We're going to have meetings to say, there's a problem here, there's a problem here, and let's have that feedback so we make those improvements.
I know, I'm trying to do that.
Yeah. Well, we've reached out to you several times.
I know,
Yeah.
I answered your email, because as you get older, you have more doctor's appointments.
No,
so
my
like-
dad has cancer. Yeah. No, I
You
know.
spend your time in the doctor's office, so I haven't had a chance.
Sure.
to
So I'd like to, again, we'll definitely reach out and have that. We'd like to have that ongoing conversation for this
Right.
very issue.
Because I am worried about, I mean, once the parking lot is there, it's there. But, a temporary parking lot, in my mind, is like a gravel thing, and I just don't think that's safe where it's going to be.
I think our
because-
game plan would probably be to actually build the parking lot, and when we say temporary, the construction would be there temporary, and then free it up later on. But I don't think we would just put gravel down at that point in time. We would make those
Yeah,
necessary.
there's ways to, we put down what's called a binding course, so there's no rock. It's not the finished smooth surface that would come back later, but that can be built on day one. So there isn't something to pick up and throw, to your concern. So that can be there as temporary, and then when it's done, it might get beat up a little bit. They'll come back, roll it again, and then put the finish course on top of that.
So
we
you're
can make
going
sure
to
there's
cut
no.
through the sidewalk, make the driveway the way it's planned already?
Right.
Okay.
So the only temporary part of that, it won't be a finished course, they won't have the lines in and things like that.
Right,
for
but
the
it'll
park.
be set back where it's supposed to be?
Yes.
And what about drainage for the water?
Yeah, we have to plan that from day one as well, and that's a challenge. But the stormwater management for that has to be calculated the second we start paving some of those areas.
Because I
So that
know
has
a
to be achieved.
lot of my neighbors, including me, we get water in our basements
Mm-hmm.
now. So, with the addition of the cement and taking away the green space, I can see that happening more.
No, that all has to be calculated and approved, and that's all done through the civil engineers as well. So that'll all be calculated not only during construction, but certainly the final product as well.
One of the things we just met with the township and their engineer on stormwater management is ways to make those improvements and suggestions that they're going back and forth with us with. We had a great meeting, like every meeting runs together, but recently we had a great meeting with them where they provided what they think would be even a better solution than our original solution for the management of the stormwater on that site to make those improvements
Yeah.
that you're
'Cause
talking
I
about.
mean, I don't want to see people get more flooded than they're already
No doubt.
getting.
Sure.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
My name is Melissa Baldwin. I live at 328 North Oak Avenue in Clifton Heights. I am an employee of the school district. I work at Aronimink in 2 different capacities. I work in the cafeteria, and I also work with the kids outside at recess. I had a question about the Aronimink thing, and I never thought to ask it before. But while this build is going on, I'm with the kids outside at recess. So what happens to that space and the security with the kids? And how safe is it to have them out there during the build? Because that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, what's nice with we'll call it the segregation of the new construction from the renovation part of it, that new construction is going to be by itself, completely by itself. So we won't go out that door when they go to recess. That entire field to the left of that image there won't be touched during construction or after construction. So you still have an enormous amount of open green space on that site. Now, the playground where that building goes will have to be relocated, but that green space is large and open and would be fenced off from the construction site, not only during the new construction part, but certainly the renovation part as
So
well.
we'll still have access to the blacktop the field and the big playground.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. I didn't know if we had to go to the other side of the building. I didn't know what was going on with that. And I live in Westbrook Park. My kid goes to Westbrook Park Elementary. I was really hoping the middle school would be built because I only live 3 blocks away. And I have to say thank you to the school board and to the school district for seeing an issue. I mean, my daughter goes to Drexel Hill Middle. She takes 2 classes in those trailers. Those trailers are disgusting. It's not a place that I even wanted to walk into as a parent, let alone try to learn in there as a student. She's in one of the classrooms down in the basement that does not have a window. It's not a fun place to be. It really isn't. It's not a conducive learning facility at all in those areas. So I have to say thank you. Thank you so much for seeing an issue and addressing it and trying your hardest to fix it. I know that a lot of the people in Clifton are fighting it, and I don't understand why, and I understand that they have memories of that field and great Clifton pride. I get it, but this is a new way to have Clifton pride. This is a new way to show everyone else, hey, look at our great facilities, look at our amazing fields. We can do basketball, we can do cheer in our own facility instead of trying to go out to the other areas. So I have to thank you for that. I really am looking forward to this build. I really wish that it would happen. My son's in 3rd grade, so fingers crossed he could at least get 1 year in there. It would be great. So it'd be great to have him there, and I thank you guys for that. I know it's hard. I know I've been to, am I up? Is that my time? I'm sorry. But thank you. Thank you very much.
Annette Fenning, 5015 Moorvine Avenue, Drexel Hill. So, Aronimink School, you talk about a win. First of all, I'm glad everybody's happy, right? We have a great group. We understand what we're doing. My comment on the feeling that I have had as living 100 yards away from Aronimink School is that the win-win situation should also be for the community and for you, right? And I'm not talking about the facilities. They're a win. No one would ever say that. I think that just for the record, that the issue was communication and how. Just about in August, it was when we first, the residents that, since we were recapping, the residents that do live around Aronimink School were really informed on what was happening, even though you were talking about it for a long time, okay? I don't think anybody doesn't want the school. It's beautiful. Aronimink School, so on that temporary parking lot and the construction equipment that's going to be stored there, I mean, I'm envisioning large equipment being stored in that area there between the church, like, you know where the church is?
Right, I think the temporary lot that you're talking about off of Bond is for the faculty. Cars.
Oh, okay.
And then the trucks and construction stuff is on the other side, over where the construction will be.
Over on Moorvine.
Over, off of Marvine
Okay.
and Vermont, yes, sorry.
So I didn't hear anybody address any parking along Moorvine in the traffic studies and you talked about Bond, maybe not having any parking there after the school's built or whatever. We have a very serious issue on the corner of Moorvine and Bond right now, and I can maybe record it. But, I mean, Moorvine and Vermont, you cannot come around this corner. If you're going to have construction equipment over there and you're going to be doing construction over there, I seriously suggest that you look at it. Because right now, even right now, without any of that, and I've said it before, but I never really hear it addressed, that corner is going to be a problem, okay? Parking on both sides when they're dropping the kids off, and I don't know how that drop-off's going to go while you're doing that construction. How is that going to go?
That's why we were mentioning we were actually going to create the student drop-off first. That is the first thing that happens. So we're bringing those cars onto the site. So
Right.
they will not be on Marvine.
So excuse me, parents won't be allowed to come around Moorvine and drop like they do now?
This site
we would be coming here and dropping off this way, not coming up this way as they currently do, to your point.
Right.
Now, to the other point, it wasn't brought to our attention from the traffic engineer from the township, and the township would have to make that decision whether they want to make that parking, to your point, down in that area. We're not
Okay.
against that, because I think you're right. I think it would discourage during school time, parking and idling around that area. This area is the one that came up the most in the traffic study, but
Right.
there's nothing that would prevent us from having a conversation with the township and saying to them, maybe during the hours of 8 to 4 o'clock, there might be consideration there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then, of course, my usual cost to the taxpayers. Sorry, my contacts are falling out. Some of the things I heard today, I was kind of hoping to get some more information on the bonds, but I guess that's next time, on exactly what the cost is going to be. But, I get it with the interest rates, that's what I do. And I know we have to get it done sooner rather than later. It's fully understandable. I feel very rushed on the Aronimink School project. And I don't know the ins and outs of Clifton Heights and why it's costing us all this money for this lawsuits. And it's a problem, because the other question, and this is completely probably premature, but are we looking ahead at the reassessments and what's going to happen as a result of them? Do we have any expert advice on how this might affect the construction of your schools? So I would just ask the finance people to maybe research that. I know it's hard because you got to wait till all the assessments are in and they're appealed, but it's such an unknown. It's just such an unknown. The timing is...
If you don't mind, the basic premise behind the assessment is, although the assessments are mostly going to go up, there's going to be a base tax year that's set for the district. So we'll have a base revenue. And then what will happen is when all the assessments come in, they're appealed, there's a final assessment number issued by the county prior to issuing the 2021 taxes.
Yes.
We'll then have to back into the cost or the millage rate. So the millage rate would, in theory, if the assessments go up, the
Go
millage
down.
rate would go down.
Yeah.
And then you would have to stay within that base tax year. So
So 2019, is that the base year?
this upcoming year, the 2020
2020.
year, July 2020 would be our base year. So this
Right.
upcoming tax year would be the base year for the revenue.
Okay. It is, I'm hoping that it all works out exactly like they say. So I would ask the superintendent and the rest of the board to just listen and hear the community as well. I mean, I really do feel that that was a little bit of a tough go around the first time around. And you may not feel that that my judgment on that is not correct, but that's how I felt. So I just want to ask that communication not just be on the school board website, because a lot of the community around the school does not look at the school board, not the school board website, but the Upper Darby School District website, because our kids don't go to school there.
Just want to make sure that previous meetings I know you've attended, there is a way on our website for all community members to sign up to receive the monthly updates that come out from the superintendent and from the school board
Okay.
themselves. It's on our website. It's under Aranda. If you could just
On the website homepage, there's parents, students, community.
click the community tab, and
There's a widget where you can go right in there, put in your information, and it'll come straight to you.
yeah, and you'll get emails, updates.
Okay.
So
That's
I'll
fine.
pass the word to your
Remember
neighbors.
also, we have some senior citizens that don't have that. No, I'm just saying, I understand that you get frustrated with that, but it is true. So, maybe, I don't know, there is a way, I know that, to communicate with people that live between, say, State Road, up Vermont Road to Township, and around that whole, that's not a really large area, but it's a pie shape at the very end of Upper Darby Township that meets Springfield Township and Drexel Line Shopping Center.
Yeah, we had a discussion today with the township officials, and there's two things that we're talking about: how we can communicate that way effectively, where that wasn't really necessarily being extended both ways before. And then also a community advisory board that we're putting together that would be representative of folks from throughout the community in each area.
Yep.
Not only folks that are parents who have students in the district, but taxpayers that don't have students in the district from each part of the community. And we're going to be coming out with that on the district end first. And then as the township gets together, they're going to be joining that with members of the township as well. But we, again, made that announcement. I made that announcement. I wanted to give the township, the new township administration, a chance to hear about that without stepping on anybody's toes. And we are going to move forward with that process to bring these folks in. And for the Aronimink project in particular, I would like to reach out and put a committee together of folks and parents and community members that are there to, keep us dotting our I's and crossing our T's as we go through that project.
Thank you, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
Just have one more question. I still have a little bit of a hard time envisioning the end, right? I don't understand yet what's happening after, if everything goes as planned, we have the kindergartners in, we have Senkel then coming back from Glen Olden. Where is the kindergarten community going?
And maybe I'll do another whole presentation because I think everybody's maybe in a little bit different place somewhat. In the end, the ultimate game plan, the ultimate objective for the school district is K-5 buildings. So the kindergarten students will go back to their home school neighborhoods. So Stonehurst is K-5, Bywood is
Right.
K-5. They'd be walking to school instead of being bused like they are right now. That's, when it's all said and done, why Aronimink had to be expanded. We still need a new elementary school in the 69th Street area to make that fit.
Okay.
And when it's all said and done, Senko goes back to its 5 neighborhoods, gets spread out. Some students will go to the new school, some students will go to Bywood, some students will go to Stonehurst, some Charles Kelly students will end up going to Bywood, some will go to Highland Park. So Charles Kelly and Bywood go back to their neighborhoods, get spread out to the new school, Bywood, Stonehurst, and Highland Park. Highland Park kids would shift then over to Hillcrest. Some Hillcrest students then shift over to Aronimink. They become K-5 buildings, and that's the ultimate end game, that Charles Kelly no longer operates and Senko no longer operates.
So that's well into the future, because I can hear we're doing middle schools, which we should. I would say that would be a big priority. So there's no real timeline on an elementary school to absorb all those children.
There is. The rumor that was out there was that it would be so easy, like we have the land in 69th, just take it. We have to work through, 69th Street is the only other viable space to put a new elementary school. We have offered a land swap or some kind of a formal agreement to the township. We're in the process of trying to work through that. Once we test that location, test it for, we've heard rumors about flooding and different things that are
Right.
there. If that site works out, if the township is willing to work with us on that, because right now it's zoned recreational, so the zoning would have to change there. Everybody was saying that it's always so easy, we're going to give you this property. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, even to get 69th Street to work, because we don't own it, and it's zoned a certain way on the township end.
Okay.
All things considered, if we can make that happen, that could potentially, believe it or not, move faster than how we're moving on the Clifton Heights project.
Okay.
That's the issue. The problem then becomes, we're still sending kids to overcrowded middle schools. The reason why we're also trying to do the middle school at the same time is when you redistrict and and you move kids around, you don't want to send kids to overcrowded schools as it exists. That's why we need the middle school space.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi, Amy Sullivan, 5000 Marvine, Drexel Hill, right across the street on the corner from Aronimink. You were just talking about the land swap. What's the status of that and who's talking about it? Because, yeah.
So our legal representation, the woman Kim Freemuth, who is from Fox Rothschild that represented us on the Aronimink project, and our solicitor Kyle Berman drew up an agreement that we presented to the Upper Darby Township. Obviously, with the change in
Like to the mayor and the council?
Really, yeah, to their legal team, and then obviously they have to go through their process on their end. When the transition occurred, I think it was a little bit lost in translation where that opportunity was. I know our attorneys were reaching out from them. We have finally now gained some more traction on the original opportunity for that. And then we're talking about the properties that we're talking about. The school district owns Carrington Field, which used to be a location for a school, but it's too small. It's on 2 acres around. We lease currently a portion of Marshall Road, not all of it, but a portion of it for $1 for like 99 years, I think. So we're trying to work out the use of those 2 spaces and get to the 69th Street location to put a school there and improve the fields to make that happen.
Right.
That's what we're trying to negotiate.
Okay. I just want to, I know with the transition, it's probably difficult. I'm glad to hear about the advisory board with the Aronimink neighbors as well as the parents of, and whoever else. I just wish that I think it could have saved a lot of heartache if that was done originally, probably the same thing in Clifton Heights. But so I'm glad that we're doing that now, because I think communication is key. Communication, like they were saying to the neighborhood about these upcoming changes, about the construction taking a year longer than originally was mentioned in the meeting, because that's a huge deal. So I think if the neighborhood knows about these things and can plan for them in advance, that it could save a lot of, feeling like heartache and stuff. Because the things that will be affected by that in the summer would be the use of the playgrounds. There's 2 playgrounds. I just want to make sure, how is it going to impact? Because you have the playground programs in the summer at the tot lot and the other playground, like people are employed there, okay.
We've already had that meeting with the township. We've
Okay.
we already have a game plan on how we're going to handle the summer recreation program, the tot lab program. We've had numerous meetings, and it's been great, the back and forth with that. And we have a game plan to work on that. I think the concern about this taking a year longer is not accurate. It's the phasing that we've changed. So the idea of being construction a year longer, what we're saying is we've changed our process and we're keeping the administration building
Right.
intact and not getting out of there, even though we need to.
No, I was just looking back at the original timeline, and it ended in August of 2021, and now it's August of 2022. Just, because the neighborhood, if they went to that meeting, and now all of a sudden it's a year. So just the communication with that. And then the teams that practice and play in those fields, how it's going to impact them. I just think people just need to know and can't be find these things out at the last minute. I think that's probably everything. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sorry, I also wanted to say that I think most people are glad that all these improvements are happening and that they're very much needed. I think that it was just the communication and the understanding. So I think, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, and thank you for your time. Joanne Crass, 5001 Marvine Avenue. I am at the bottom, right across the street of the driveway that they drop off, where they come in now to drop off. And my main concern is traffic. Once you close that driveway, we're going to have parents coming in through Marvine and dropping off on the sidewalk of Marvine or Roberts. We're not seem to worry too much about Roberts, the cross street there.
So if I can answer that won't be closed off. It'll actually be opened up.
No, but the driveway's closed off, right?
No. It'll be a continuous drive from Bond Avenue to Marvine.
But what I'm saying is you have to start out at Bond and go down into Marvine. You can't come in Marvine, right, and go up.
No, it's a one-way
It's a
drop-off.
one-way. So people that, believe me, parents are lazy. I'm one, I know it. They come in now and they come along Marvine and they stop with their cars.
Exactly where you live.
You know where I am.
So your concern is right now, she's explaining, they come.
They're not going to go up to Bond Avenue.
People aren't, although people come right now here and double park and do this, we're gonna have to do a good communication plan to make sure people are aware that what you're talking about is not the way in any longer, and we've got to go in the building.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're not going to take the time to come in Marvine, go up Roberts, and go down Bond, and then go down the driveway. They're going to stop along the way and drop those kids wherever they want to drop them. My other concern is functions at Aronimink, night functions with other groups, even the school itself, parents coming. Now they're going to have to go up Bond and park in that parking lot, and they're not going to do that. They're going to park along Roberts or along Marvine to cut in, to walk across the field and go in the main door. Because they're not going to want to park at the top of the street and have to walk all the way down.
There'll still be this auxiliary parking.
I understand that, Dan. I totally understand that. But if you lived where I lived, you would see that the people, they're lazy. And that you see even with football practice, the traffic and the dads with their big pickup trucks, guilty. But they park along Roberts, and then you have people coming home from work. And oh, my other question, before and after care, is that going to be affected at all? And that's more traffic there. And you're talking 6 o'clock at night, people coming in, out, going to work, and
These are great points.
I know.
Right.
Well,
We
you
believe-
know,
Yeah, no,
you know me.
No, you've been
Right
great.
there.
We have to take into consideration aftercare, before and after care in the design of this program, because it's something the school district currently
Okay,
operates.
and that, again, is a traffic.
Yeah, so we will take that into consideration. We believe, when it's all said and done, that preventing the parking from 8 to 4 on this side, this parking lot,
Right.
will improve during the school day the traffic around that building and how people are currently parking. Your other point is that when this opens up and it's used the way that it is, we believe that the parking that we've added, when it's all said and done, will also allow for extracurricular activities and parking on the campus
And
to
I
improve.
see your point, when
Yep.
it's all said and done. It's that in-between period, when all that construction and things are
And we're going to have
closed
to work
off,
with
and
the community and the
that I
township
worry.
in policing that area around the building.
That's what I was going to ask you, for
Yes,
the policing.
We're going to have to do that.
And I wanted to thank Dr. Manfree, because he answered so many questions as far as Clifton Heights. No, and my point is, you answered that you studied other areas and other schools. And I don't feel that we got that when it came to the Aronimink. Answering, and you may have your reasons, the Hillcrest and all. We just never heard all of them.
We did it,
So,
to the point earlier, we did it in so many presentations that I guess it got lost when new people came into the mix.
and get in. All right.
No, it changed some personal perspective.
Mike, could you go over where the new entrances to Aronimink are going to be? Because they are changing, so that is going to affect where people, they're not going to be going to that back
And my
door,
and
so
my
to
other
speak.
worry is when they drop off at the bus loop, where those kids go from the bus loop drop-off.
The front of the school will be on Bond Avenue. The front of the school
Okay.
is essentially
Where the
front of
admin
DA
is now.
District office is now,
Okay.
correct. So that new parking lot that's sitting here is for the front of the school.
Right.
So again, just like at Clifton, where we're trying to have a parking lot right by the front door, that's the reason for that location. So that is where visitors would go. As we've mentioned, the parent drop-off comes along the side of the school, where students can come in through the lobby of
Where the door
gym
is
additions.
now,
Right,
correct?
where the door is
Okay.
now. And then the bus loop allows for the buses to come in off of Bermont, and they would be going into the
Original
front
main doors,
main
but what
door
about
of the
kids that
school.
get there before school starts?
That, again, you've got parking lots here, and you've got the drive that goes through here for.
No, but I mean the bus drop-off. If the bus dropped off, because some buses are there before school starts. So where do those kids
You're
go?
up against it right now. She
I'm
used to work in
sorry.
the building, so she probably
worked
knows
there.
it better than you.
Sorry.
So the reality is,
I
when
am concerned
Yeah, that's great.
for those
So
children.
So what we're going to do is we're going to handle it like we do in other buildings where there is that early drop-off, where right now, the beauty of this, if you're talking about early students that would be there
Yeah,
early,
mhm.
the gym that we would have now would be so expansive that we can use that gym space, where versus in other buildings where I was a principal, Biowood, other places, when the kids were dropped off sometimes at 6:30 in the morning, or when I was the principal, I'd bring them in. We have much better space to accommodate those different types of things, and being in Aronimink for so long, it's always been
Does
controversial.
the faculty know this?
Yeah, good point. But the controversy of let them play on the playground in the morning or
I
don't let
know.
them play, right?
I did playground duty.
Yeah, so the history of those
Did it
things, and
all.
we feel the facility is going to be better accommodating for those issues that you're talking about.
Okay.
Than compared to what you have right now.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, Mr. Rogers, review of your agenda.
Agenda item number 1 was the Aronimink and Clifton Heights Middle School update, which was informational, where we reviewed the Aronimink and Clifton Heights projects and where we are and where we're going for the future. Agenda item number 2 was the Future Bond Issuance update, again, informational and really just an idea of what the schedule looks like in the very near future for issuing bonds. Agenda item number 3 was the Upper Darby High School band trailer, again, informational, and we just discussed the current band trailer condition and the idea of looking into buying a new one. And number 4 was the policies which will require board action. Again, it's policy 610, purchase subject to bid and quotation, and policy 611, purchases budgeted.
Okay. Is the board comfortable with moving those two policies forward? Yes. All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much. I think that's it. A motion's in order for adjournment of the... All right. Vote, all in favor? Aye. All right, meeting adjourned.